Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and to another video. I hope you're doing well. As you know, Nefer's banner is releasing in just a few days, so I wanted to take this opportunity to show you how I pre-farm before new characters arrive with these small but super helpful tips that make my process easier, faster, and save me time. I'll include detailed descriptions for each one, so if you're interested, you're more than welcome to join me. And without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, the first rule I usually follow before I even start doing anything is to know what I'm going to be pre-farming for. Am I pulling the character, or will I get the signature weapon as well? Getting that out of the way helps me organize and allocate my resources better, since sometimes items use different domains, and it makes it easier to plan my resin accordingly and on time for when the banner comes. Also, resin is such a scarce resource, so I always like to have a plan for when I use it. Okay, once I have that done, I will check my inventory. Because I farm for so many characters, it's really easy for me to forget what I have, what I don't have, what I maybe need. So just to avoid farming for something that I already have, I will usually do a quick run through of my inventory and then use that as my guideline for a week or so, just to plan around it so that I know what to use my resin on. So I do need her talent materials because they are a bit low, and today is Tuesday. So I have resin and I'm gonna use all of it on this talent domain. Okay, thankfully all that resin was enough for me to get all the books that I needed for her, as you can see. But if you're ever curious about how many you might need for any character, I'll also include how I calculate the amount of books that I need to pre-farm. Okay, now that that's done, let me tell you about tip number 3. I like to separate my materials into 2 types. They don't have official names, but to keep it simple, I'll call them always there and not always there. Always there materials would be like Mora and XP books, because no matter what, even if you're not building the character, you'll need to level them at least, so you're gonna need XP books. And once you get high up in the numbers, those start to get expensive as well. You need like 200, 300 books just for one character. So I always like to have those, and you can't do anything in this game without Mora. So those materials I like to have always there. Not always there would include like talent books, weapon books, and even weekly boss materials once you farm enough of them. When I have enough talent books, I always use the rest of my resin on Mora and XP, just because I like to have good stock on those materials. That's why the other category is not always there, since after I farm them and I use them for their intended character, I don't really have a reason to keep farming them, and any extra I have will usually just stay in my inventory until I have to use them again for another character, and that's okay. But to upkeep the demand on Mora and XP, I will usually have whole weeks in each version where I only explicitly use my resin on either XP ley lines or explicitly on Mora ley lines for the entire week, and I alternate weekly until I have enough. Okay, now that I'm at my resin's daily limits, I don't have any more, I have to wait until tomorrow. I need to do something that doesn't involve resin, which brings me to my next point, which is to batch farm materials. Nefer's essential material are the Moonfall Silver. You can find them in Hishi Island. And if you're someone who pulled on the first half of the 6.0 banners, you'll know that Lauma actually shares the same material with her. Something I like to do whenever new characters from brand new regions come out is actually I gather a little more. Since with new regions, chances are eventually there's bound to be one or more characters that share the same materials, and just gathering a little extra here and there saves me a lot of time, since I've already gotten these for Lauma, for example. Let's find Lauma. I actually have enough for Nefer, and I don't have to keep farming these, so that's one thing cropped off my list. If you maybe watched my Flynn's video, you know that I spent a ton of resin on this domain, so not only the pearls for lava, but also artifacts from Flynn, so I always like to have a little extra of each character that I farm. What I can farm today though is enemy materials, since I do need those. It's these ones, so I can go around and just farming these today and until Nefer's banner comes out, so let's do a little bit of that right now. Show you the materials I got. Since it's just these enemies, thankfully they reset daily, so if I keep farming them until she comes out, I'll have more than enough. Speaking of over the course of the next couple days, my next point is to alternate the days you farm domains and spread out your resin over the course of a couple days. We only have a limited amount of resin each day, so honestly this helps me save on resources, yes, but it also keeps the free farming from feeling repetitive for me. And I like having something new to work towards each day other than enemy materials. So if I have the whole week and I spend the entire week farming enemy mats because these are the type that reset every day, I sprinkle in some domain runs throughout the week so it doesn't feel as repetitive. With that being said, another tip I can give is to prioritize what's most important and at the top of your list. I will usually go boss if I can farm it, then talents because those are character specific, and then weapon because if I have the first two down, I can always borrow someone else's weapon until I have the new one fully leveled if I pull for it, and then I will focus on artifacts. That brings me to my next point, which is prioritize your Mora. Since doing all the other things can cost more than a bit of Mora, I usually set things on a scale of what's most and least important on a priority list. Of course, although all these things are important and they will get done eventually, but since artifacts are something that can really sink your Mora bank with the amount that you spend and will change depending on how lucky you are, I usually always leave the artifacts for the very last, after I'm sure I've prioritized everything else and I'm all in the clear to go ahead and start farming on those artifacts. If you didn't already know, you yourself can save some Mora if you just put in already leveled pieces into new artifacts and it will bring the price down. I usually do this to make use of old pieces that didn't level how I wanted to and will usually go to waste anyway if I just let them sitting in my inventory, so I'll use it to keep the Mora price lower. Now these last two are kind of an if it applies to you, maybe not. If the boss is brand new and I'm unable to farm for it, like a brand new map expansion is coming or a version is coming for example, I like to save my entire previous day's worth of resin on the boss so I can use it right away when the banner comes out. This includes teapot resin as well, since you can save multiple of those at a time. Because I pull so many characters, I don't really ascend past 80/80, since doing that is very crystal expensive and I already never have enough, so keeping all the resin enables me to have a character fully leveled almost immediately or definitely by the next day reset. And finally, the only primo focus tip here, this one applies to you if you're someone who uses combat modes to farm primo gems for the new version, and it's to remember to check reset dates on combat modes because more often than not, there will be one or more that will reset right before the banner or right before the version. For example, this Spiral Abyss resets in a day, so it's just in time for Nefer's banner, and I'm pretty sure that the Stygian Onslaught resets soon too. Yeah, and clearly I need to do this one, but it's right around the corner, so remember to do those combat events. Okay friends, that's all for today's video. My nefer is all pre-farmed and ready to go, so I hope you enjoyed this video and found at least a few things that were helpful and you can take with you on your next pre-farm run. If you enjoyed and watched to the end, thank you so much, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in my next one. Again, thank you, and as always, have an amazing day. Bye!